Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard yet another very interesting episode of the People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid that sits here at Fairway Hotel every Friday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And a repeated version of the same is telecast on NBS television every Saturday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. As always, we normally craft our debates with a very interesting panel of ladies and gentlemen to dissect and demystify on our daily topics. On the discussion tonight, we discuss the Israel-Gaza war, the implications of the USA halt of arms supply to Israel against the Hamas over Rafah. On a preamble from our research desk, the decades-long conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza has been marked by intermittent periods of violence and ceasefire agreements. In recent times, the situation escalated dramatically with the eruption of a deadly conflict in May of 2021. This conflict, characterized by intense airstrikes and rocket attacks, resulted in significant casualties and destruction on both sides. One significant development during this conflict was the decision by the United States to halt arms sales to Israel for a brief period. This decision came in the wake of intense international pressure, especially following the deadly attacks on the Rafah border crossing, which raised concerns about civilian casualties and the humanitarian situation in Gaza. The United States emphasized the need for both sides to de-escalate the conflict and pursue a peaceful resolution. The implications of this temporary halt in arms sales to Israel against Hamas over the Rafah incident are significant and very far-reaching. It raises questions about the relationship between the United States and Israel and the dynamics of the conflict in the Middle East, the role of the international actors in the region, and the prospects of a lasting peace agreement. In the ongoing Israel-Palestinian conflict, the United States has long been a key ally and a supporter of Israel in providing military aid and weapons to ensure its security. However, the recent decision to pause arms sales to Israel has raised significant questions and concerns about the future dynamics of this crucial relationship. The conflict in Gaza has once again brought to the forefront the complex and deeply rooted issues surrounding the Israel occupation and the Palestinian struggle for self-determination. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza, exaggerated by the recent violence, has drawn widespread condemnation and calls for action from international community. The decision to halt arms sales to Israel over the Rafah border crossing adds a new dimension to this already volatile situation. The Rafah crossing, controlled by Egypt and crucial for the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza, has been a point of contention and conflict for years. Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of Africa, I would equally like to remind you that we'll be having the 7th Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards 2024. It is normally hosted here at Fairway Hotel, where we recognize Africans that have contributed tirelessly to the education, health, and all the other sectors. I want to interest you to come. Let's rekindle our roots. Be part of this great event. Book your dinner card now. You can call us on 0757 342317 or the MTN of 0782 342317. Be part of this year's edition of the Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards. It's going to be interesting.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
I will ask that you permit me commence in the following manner. That this war, which is a direct invasion of Israel with her cousins, on the soil of the Palestinians, to the Palestinians, has gone into a number of months now, and all that we are witnessing since it commenced is the indiscriminate killing of children, women, and all the defenseless people in the Gaza Strip. And may I also remind the audience tonight that some in the West Bank who are not necessarily in the Gaza Strip where it is alleged that the Hamas rebel outfit are hiding have also been killed. Mr. Speaker, the same war, the same murderous acts of the Zionists has seen the destruction of property in the Gaza Strip of about 3 point something million people, houses, hospitals, other related health facilities, and all manner of infrastructure destroyed to zero by use of airstrikes, and also now where they have already actually moved in using strong armaments, tanks and other weapons to kill off the little that was left of the airstrikes. Mr. Speaker, the same attack on the innocent Palestinians has seen the objective journalists expelled from the same ground, in particular the Al Jazeera media house was expelled not to report from the Israel soil, that is if it is their soil anyway, and they are currently reporting from Jordan simply because they are objective in their reporting and they would show the true picture as compared to the other media houses which gloss over the facts on the ground. Mr. Speaker, in the same regard, these very Zionists, by embarking on that unfortunate mission, have attracted the global wrath, and our sister country, Republic of South Africa, took them on legally and instituted a case against them in the ICC, and a ruling has been passed, and it is being enhanced because South Africa went back to argue that even the literature that the court granted was not being respected, and that Israel has not had the courtesy of even defending themselves. Worst case scenario, of course, we know that Israel, when they were offered an opportunity in the UN, the representative, in a very bravado manner, tore the pieces of paper where it was written that they should restrain themselves and that the amount of power they were using against the civilians was unnecessary, uncalled for, and that therefore what they were doing amounted to gross human rights abuse, for which they deserved to be taken to the ICC. The ICC, Mr. Speaker, which also has got its own troubles, but that is a debate for another day. Mr. Speaker, sir, this same war has witnessed the very Israelis themselves rebel from within because they do not trust the leadership of Netanyahu. Netanyahu can only be trusted by his lieutenants in the army and the members of the Kurd party, which he heads. The youth who are supposed to enroll for compulsory military service have gone into hiding, and they have even dared those who are brave enough that they should be arrested if arrest is what is going to bring sanity to the administration of the Jews, the Zionists, to see that what is happening in the Gaza Strip is nothing but an equivalent of what happened to the very Jews, their great-grandfathers, in the torture chambers of Germany under the Nazi regime. We know that in the support that Europe and America has been giving Israel from time immemorial up to now, they have not yet, they may pretend that they know, but I know for a fact that they are not very sure about the silence of the Arab world, the seeming silence of the Arab world, particularly Iran and what it has got in its arsenal. Last time, only listening to the media houses, which are only controlled by the capitalistic hegemonic West, they said that the attempt of Iran to give a reply, whatever reply Iran sent, was 95% shot down. Question is, where did the 5 land? And what was the extent of the damage? Did we see anything on CNN as a result of the 95 they talk about? Where did the 95, which was shot down, where were the debris? Because these were heavy missiles. We should have at least, if they had the capacity, we should have been shown how they shot them down, since they have got all the technology. May I also propose to this House that this change of heart, which is also suspect about arming further the Israelis, could be that they are also thinking of not crossing the red line. Because the moment they move into the Rafah and the entire Gaza with army equipments, who knows what Iran is going to do and the other Arab world is also going to do. Who knows the cooperation between Iran, the Arab world especially, but Iran in particular, with China and Russia, and whether at what stage, as far as the nuclear bomb is concerned, at what stage is Iran? Mr. Speaker, sir, as I wind up, I want to inform this House that China, Russia, which is actually winning in Ukraine, that one you should have no doubt in your mind at all. It is winning, and it is winning according to the timetable. Those who claim that it has taken ages for Russia to win, you simply don't know how those socialists operate. They do not operate on the machinations of the news anchors on CNN, and those planes you are seeing of Russia which were shot down, but they would not show you where they were shot down from and who did that. They will also mutedly not tell you why it has taken them so long, the entire Europe against just one Russia, why they cannot so quickly regroup and do away with the little Russia as they want to call it. But what is also of greatest importance, Mr. Speaker, is that the Arab world has, in a manner of speaking, been mute about the situation of Israel. Although we had the meeting that the Arab countries had in Egypt, it did not produce a kind of impact that we all expected, and they went back into a retreat. They are even not members. They never joined South Africa in referring Israel to the ICC. ICC also, which has got its own troubles. But if you want to expose your enemy, you even take him to his mother-in-law and you strip him naked. They created ICC. They have been taken to ICC. Wait for what the ICC is going to say. Finally, Mr. Speaker, if anything in the world has exposed America and Europe that they are typical consummate liars, that all along they have been pretending that they have got no credentials at all to talk about in human rights, rule of law. It is this attack on the innocent Palestinians by their very own cousins they remotely control, called the State of Israel.
Maybe on that very note, do we then begin to see a balance of power between Israel and Hamas, and the decision of the US beginning to influence the dynamics of negotiation and the peace talks between Israel and Hamas?
I would instead state it this way, that the points I have mentioned, ranging from not knowing what exactly, if they allow without appearing to be opposing the ground movement of the Zionists against the Palestinians in Rafah, what is going to come from the Arab world? Two, even if that they didn't mind, because they do mind anyway, but the bravado kind of nature that the Americans can be, they will show you that they don't care. But what is also of critical importance is that away from the balance of power, what we may think of the balance of power, the Hamas, and has got a number of issues. One, that there is growing discontent, especially in the universities in America and among the other sections of the population in America. And that is happening when we are moving towards the presidential elections and Biden wants a win. He's trying to strike a balance. He didn't see this civil disobedience, if you may call it, coming the way it is coming. He wants to show all of a sudden that he's now a humanistic person, and his regime does not support the mass killing that is happening in Palestine, on the Palestinian soil. And also, I want to believe that the global condemnation of what is happening in the Palestinian territory of Gaza is part of what is comparing America, although they are also doing it sharply, to kind of pose as if they are actually doing something. But we all know, those of us who are not weekend thinkers, we all know that they are simply praying to the gallery. They are arming by all nature. The Israelis, they have already had the budget approved. Monies has not been stopped. They already have plants manufacturing arms. Therefore, what we are witnessing is even not seeming, and of course we know that there is a situation of Netanyahu facing rebellion, civil disobedience in his homeland, where the youth are saying we can be arrested, but we are not going to accept to join the compulsory military service. In that nature, therefore, where we are having growing discontent of the Israelites themselves against the very war which they should be supporting, where we have got growing discontent of the Americans throughout the universities, we have a situation of the hypocritic American administration coming with a contrite heart, when in actual sense we know they are not, to say we are conditioning our support to Israel not attacking Rafah. But in actual sense, we all know that they are planning something extremely murderous, which they have been at for a very long time. Therefore, has got nothing to do with Hamas having been holding the hostages, and therefore being with probably an upper hand, or having in any way coerced the Israelis or the Americans to say we have this bargaining chip, but rather it is for the American politics and also the politics within Israel. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you so much.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
I can re-emphasize the first point is that they have not stopped supplying Israel with weapons. That's really number one information here. We do have to understand that such collaboration, military collaboration, do not stop in one day because the president decides to stop. Like, it's not like this. Even in the case of Nigeria right now, when Nigerians have asked for the French and the Americans to leave, to physically leave the militaries, it takes a lot of time. So it's not like it stops like this. So we can ask ourselves rather a different question on why is it that we have been told that America might stop supporting Israel, might stop. That's the real information that Western media have told us. Why is it that we have been told that they might? And that's, I think, is a success for us. It's one of our victory. We can call it a victory, because in this show, from the 7th of October, we've been saying that America is an imperialist power. We've been saying that they support Israel, another imperialist power. And we've been saying that when it comes to imperialists, they don't overturn their agenda in a day in one political decisions, right? So the dynamics is going to continue, and the dynamics is on the way. The proof is that they have not stopped. What has changed since 7th of October? What has changed is American campuses are on fire. Western European campuses are on fire. A lot of universities around the Western world has been blocked. So to be sure that the message is heard. We are not the only one. We have done that in this show. In this show itself, we have said, no, this war should stop, right? Other people around the world have said, no, this war should stop. So what is the American president, what can he do? He's going to election in 6 months. That is the real, why is he saying this? He might stop what? It's because he's going to election in 6 months. And he cannot afford to lose voters. So do you think Donald Trump is going to say something like this? No, he can't. So therefore, he has to take the left side of Donald Trump and speak to the leftists, speak to people like us, and tell us, really the public, that look at Palestinians and see that those are the victims, illegal victims. We're speaking of 56% of the people killed in Gaza are women and children. Were they supposed to attack Hamas? Did you know Hamas has so much women and children inside? No. So definitely what is happening is that he has to speak to us. The president of the US is trying to speak to us. And what message is he giving us? He's giving us the message that there is a red light. There's a red line. That if they cross the red line, is going to withdraw its support. That's what he's trying to tell us. Is that true? No, not at all. It just takes Israel one disinformation or two disinformations. They can tell us tomorrow that Hamas have killed 5 children in Israel, and then Netanyahu will go and say, no, since you killed 5 children from Israel, now we are going to attack Rafah as a consequences. And then it's gonna change and happen, right? So there's no end of supply weapons to Israel, and there's no end of the war in Rafah. In Rafah, Israel is not fighting Hamas. They've done with Hamas, most probably. I'm not a military advisor, but most probably the Hamas equipment is almost destroyed by 80%. If you look at how much Palestine have been destroyed since the beginning of the war, you can assume that the weapons are also in the same stage. As a matter of fact, we have not seen any sort of attack from the Hamas to Israel in recent time. So what does it mean? What it means is that Israel cannot be stopped. Netanyahu cannot be stopped. The Israelis themselves want to stop Netanyahu. As we speak, the Israelis are in the streets. There's Israeli in the street in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem saying, no, stop this war, bring back our boys, those that are alive in Gaza, bring them back. And what does he do? No, he attack. So Israel cannot stop Netanyahu. His own political party cannot stop Netanyahu. Elections and democracy cannot stop Netanyahu because it was supposed to happen by now. Israelis were supposed to have been going to vote. And why have they not been to vote? Because there's a war in Gaza. So what does Netanyahu want? A war in Gaza. As soon as the war stops, he leaves. Almost like Churchill after the Second World War. As soon as the war stops, he leaves. Israelis don't want him anymore. So as soon as there's an election, he's going to leave. So he cannot afford that for now. He cannot afford that for now. He's going to go until the end of his project. He's going to attack Rafah. The only question is not so much, is he going to attack Rafah or not? Because if we were in Rafah, we would know that he has been attacking Rafah a long time ago. There's bomb in Rafah. It's not like Rafah was like the paradise. It's not like Rafah was Zanzibar in the middle of, no, it was a war there. The war was there already. People were suffering. There were no water, no electricity already. And now we are told that maybe he's going to do worse. And then the American president tried to tell us, no, we won't allow that. So let's be realistic about the situation. The situation is simple. There is pressure that is being done by civil society. Students in the universities in the US, I know also in Western Europe, Germany, France, Sweden, UK, they're blocking campus, and that is pushing them to say, no, we listen, we hear you. So stop. The message is that, we hear you. We're not going to provide weapons if they go and gather, so please reopen the university and let's get back to normal. That's what they're scared of, that things not getting back to normal. Not getting back to normal. Over Rafah, the only thing we can do is pray for the people of Rafah. Because as we speak, they are under bombs, and next week and the week after, they will be under bombs. And there will be no Americans trying to prevent this. No. This is politics, American politics. To be even honest, when I saw, when we debated it, the topics today, I said, this is not international politics. This is American politics. This is Americans speaking to Americans. And us who listen thinking they speak to us. But this is just Americans speaking to Americans. So learning from this situation, civil society can mobilize and the political power has to listen. Which doesn't mean that they will listen. Because right now I think they're more trying to dribble us, the civil society that can see the crimes, that they're actually trying to listen to what people are saying on those campuses. The youth have pushed power in the US that far. It's good news, but it doesn't mean that it will change anything. It doesn't mean that it will change anything. To conclude, we have to be aware that it's like Russian dolls. We are in front of a situation that is similar to Russian dolls. Are we all aware what Russian doll is? There's a big one inside, a smaller one, a smaller one, a smaller one. And at the end, the regime that we're looking at is not Israeli, is not Netanyahu, is not Biden, is Zionist, as Doctor said earlier. Zionist. What does it mean? It means that they have to, those people believe that they have to have an Israel from the sea to the river. So they proposed that project, that ideological project, and it's not going to stop anytime soon because it started at the moment that the state of Israel was declared. The state of Israel was declared on the Zionist project. It's in many ways it's similar to Pan-Africanism, funny enough, because it says bring people together at the same place, which is also what the first Pan-Africanists have said, to take the blacks from America to bring them back to Africa. So that was a similar term, similar idea. We spoke about that on 7 of October. But to make the conclusion, the Zionist regime is always going to be Zionist. A regime in Israel is always going to be Zionist. There will be no moment where Israel, as a regime, will say, okay, we make peace with Palestinians and we stop our extensions. The problem is the extension of Israel.
Now, allegedly, the Rafah border crossing is the main gateway for Palestinians in Gaza to travel abroad for education, for treatment, and other purposes. With its closure, do you cite any devastating humanitarian consequences, and how, in your opinion, do you think they can overcome the same?
So someone made the calculation in a TV show, in a French TV show that I was watching on this topic. If it was France being attacked, it would be around 1.5 million people dead. So if you compare the population of Gaza, what it was before, what it is now, and compare the population of France, what it is now, and what it would be if the percentage were applied, we would realize that it's a gigantic massacre. We're speaking of, for Gazawi, and not Palestinian, I precise Gazawi. For Gazawi, this is similar to the amount of deaths that were recorded in Rwanda in 1994. So we're looking at something really devastating, right? So inside this devastation, can it be worse? I don't think so. I don't think the Rafah checkpoint is for people to go study. It's for people to go to university or to visit their family in Israel. No, the checkpoint is what? To make sure that Israel control whatever goes inside Gaza and whatever goes outside Gaza. And what do they allow outside of Gaza? Interestingly, they allow Palestinian workers to go outside of Gaza, to go to their farm and work. That was before the war. Now that the war is done, they don't allow that anymore. So where do they get their farm workers from? And that will be my conclusion. Where do they get the farm workers from? From here, Africa, Malawi, Tanzania. They even asked the Rwandan government, apparently. What does it mean? It means that right now, the Gazawi are being replaced by Africans. But when we look at what happened to the Gazawi, we can see what's going to happen to Africans in Israel in the next years. Thank you so much.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The topic of today is very touching because it is looking at the geopolitics that is being surrounded within the Gaza region. The geopolitical tensions in Gaza, Mr. Chair, is a manifestation of the malcontent of several factors, including, more specifically, the violations of international humanitarian law, during which Israel is purportedly making their military operations. Mr. Chair, you very much know that because of this, the Hamas, who are the occupants of the Gaza region, have been for quite long been considered as a terrorist group, and that it is using the civilian infrastructure to launch their military operations. And of course, you know that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is an imperialistic war. And being a pluralistic war, it is not Israel fighting. It is somebody that looks like Israel fighting. And therefore, such wars have very grave implications. The war alone in Gaza, as we talk now, about 2.3 million people are on the brink of starvation. Now, as a result, the delay of the shipment of the weaponry by the US is specifically citing human rights concerns, like the loss of lives, inadequate food supplies, indiscriminate shelling causing civilian casualties. Mass graves have now become a daily visitors actually in Gaza. You are welcome to buy mass graves. Denial of access to Rafah border crossing. And the Rafah border crossing is a very crucial border for aid, and also gives an escape route to those fleeing from the war to Egypt, to the nearest country, which is Egypt. And as we talk now also, Mr. Chair, about 1.4 million Palestinians, including more than 600 children, are sheltering in this southern city of Rafah. Yet the buildings to which they are being sheltered in have been shelled by the Israeli military beyond repair. And this challenges the international law. Mr. Chair, we've seen the Biden administration, which has actually not noticed that the US weapons offered to Israel before have been used in a very inconsistent way, not in conformity with the international humanitarian law, involving, for example, indiscriminate shelling is one of the inconsistencies that these weapons have been used. Therefore, the international humanitarian organizations, Mr. Chair, and other stakeholders like the European Union, the United Nations, the US itself, have foreseen this catastrophic environment that if US continues to offer military support to Israel, it is going to be very catastrophic, because the situation is very tense. It is the basis of this US warning that a halt on the shipment of the military weaponry has been effected, is to be effected to prevent full-scale assault on Gaza's southern city of Rafah. Mr. Chair, as a result of this also, this pause, we've seen that big diameter bombs that will not be shipped to Rafah will be, it will give an instance where it will be avoided that much of the civilian casualties in a densely populated Rafah region will be minimized. Because now if they minimize these big diameter bombs to be offered to Israel, definitely there will be some minimal casualties, civilian casualties recognized. Mr. Chairman, what are the implications? Now, the implications of this halt is that it will give access to easy reach of the UN humanitarian aid organizations in Gaza through Rafah border crossing to offer humanitarian aid. For instance, of course, food supplies. Mr. Chair, we've seen that the Rafah area, border crossing area, is an open area for people those who want to probably maybe who are escaping from war, going to neighboring countries, it allows the free entry of the humanitarian aid, food, medicine, and those who may wish to go through other countries also pass through that. But as we talk, Rafah has been under the hands of the Israeli military. And therefore, by pausing the shipment of this weaponry would probably solve or limit Israeli military to engage in further occupation of that border. Mr. Chair, we are also seeing that Israel will also be forced to enter into ceasefire, because ceasefire is very, very important. We know very much that the Hamas, who are the group occupying Gaza region, are very ready to the proposal of having a ceasefire. But the Israelis who are already in Gaza and who have already occupied such places are not agreeing with the ceasefire. And therefore, we believe that when they stop this shipment of weaponry, they will force the Israelis to accept the proposal of ceasefire, such that international mediators can come in and probably handle the matter once and for all. Mr. Chair, we are also seeing civilian casualties that have been on the increase, and we believe that by stopping the shipment of this military hardware, the civilian casualties may be averted. Probably it will be put at a halt, because there will be no more issues that may arise in relation to military. There will be also minimal refugee migration and indiscriminating killings. We've seen that Rafah region has been a border cross for refugees to other countries like Egypt, the neighboring countries, and the other countries also. So probably the implication of this delay in shipment of the weaponry may probably pause that minimal refugee migration. Both the US President Joe Biden and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will also emphasize opposition to ground offensive in Rafah, citing dire human rights casualties, because both of them are in a proposal of seeing the war end, having a ceasefire. That means that now the offensive, if the Americans now support Israel, that means that they are going to create that offensive, that they go in full swing for military action. But now once that is limited, it means if it is halted, it means that now that will be minimized. We've been seeing, Mr. Chairman, the spark of protests.
As you conclude?
Yes, the spark of protests in the US and other countries. We've seen demanding Biden to withdraw support for Israel, including the provision of weaponry. And you saw even the closure of Al Jazeera, which is a news organization. So all of this will come to be to an end. Mr. Chair, in conclusion, I very much know that remember, Israel has vowed to use any available weapons, including use of the fingernails, to continue fighting in Gaza. Already, Americans have already shown interest to halt shipment of weaponry. But remember, Americans had already armed them before, and the weapons they have now is enough, whether there are delays in shipment or not. The weapons that they possess now, which were supplied by Americans, are enough to continue fighting. That's why Israel is still attacking. as they are trying to put things in order, but for them they are still attacking. Mr. Chair, note that US had supplied area weapons to Israel, which is more enough, as I've said, to continue attacking Rafah. Therefore, the shipment delay is just a drop in an ocean. And we believe that if they don't put much emphasis on Israel, then things are likely. And you remember, Mr. Chair, that even in the US Senate, it was a divided kind of thing on a certain bill where they wanted, some were in support of Biden delaying the shipment, but the Republicans were not in support. They were saying, no, we must show them that we are Americans. And therefore, I think they need to handle issues case by case as they have. Thank you.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Israel, Gaza, Israel, Palestine, same things. Now, every 10 minutes, a Palestinian child is killed in Gaza. Every 10 minutes. 2, for 5 days, almost no humanitarian aid has gotten into Gaza. For 5 days, no humanitarian aid has gotten into Gaza. Israel's military operation in Rafah has closed both borders, border crossings. No food, no water, no medicine, no fuel. The US cannot continue to complicit in this humanitarian disaster. This is information. Now, World Health Organization officials say that just about all of Gaza's 2.3 million people are starving, are sick, either in hospital or where. So let us zero down all this topic of Israel and Hamas. The war broke up on the 7th of October 2023 with Hamas attacking Israel and killing more than 1,100 people. Since then, Hamas has never attacked Israel. Now, Israel declared a full war that has been backed by the entire West. That is to say, the UK, the United States, the biggest funder. Until today, we are still counting the number of people that have died. So as of yesterday, more than 35,000 Palestinians have died. More than 35,000. That is information. Now, we need to ask ourselves, what are some of the implications of the USA halt of arms supply to Israel against Hamas over Rafah? Over the past, Rafah has been under control of Egypt over the past, I think, more than 40 years. Because they signed an agreement that has been there for the last close to 40 years. The war of Rafah has been under what? Under Egypt's control. Today, Egypt has joined South Africa in condemning the continuous genocide
that is happening on innocent Palestinians. Egypt has joined South Africa. So, what are some of the implications of the US halting arms supply to Israel, of which the US has not reached a ground of stopping this arms supply? The US, which had declared last week that it had stopped supplying weapons to Israel, renewed, the Biden administration announced on UCCN that they will continue supplying weapons to the Israel regime, the war cabinet. Well, so when the war broke up, the US did not condemn anything. Instead, it resorted to passing the budget that it was almost equivalent to $80 billion up to now, $80 billion that has been given to Israel. None of any other country in the world can be given that fund, maybe to finance their health, maybe to finance something else, but Israel was given that amount of money. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, the former president of the US, Ronald Reagan, once said that the United States will always do what is in their interest unapologetically. The United States will always do what is in their interest unapologetically. Now, the defeat of Israel on ground is an existential threat to the United States of America and the entire West. Thank you so much.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Mr. Speaker, since the start of the Israel operation in Gaza, close to 40,000 people have been killed. Of course, 15,000, it is estimated that there were children, 10,000 were women, and 97 were journalists that were killed in the line of duty. Close to 300 humanitarian workers have been killed by the Israelites and the operation in Gaza. Mr. Speaker, we are discussing a topic where it is alleged that the US has halted the arms supply to Israel against the Hamas over Rafah, which is not the case. You know, President Biden has been compelled to come out and say that statement because of the continued pressure that has been exerted on the USA. Because we have seen protests in the USA itself, anti-war protests, people, and there is a time we saw someone burning himself, setting himself on fire, protesting against the war in Israel. Like the first speaker said, Mr. Daniel Garama, that in 6 months from now, Mr. Biden will be heading into an election. So I believe after the protests that has happened in the US and some other parts of the world, Mr. Biden has been compelled to come and say that statement, which he exactly didn't mean. Because there is no way he's going to stop the supply of arms to Israel. No, there is no way that is going to happen. And even if it happened, will it stop the war in Gaza? The answer is no. Because we have seen when in the UN Security Council, when other members are raising concerns to create a ceasefire and stop the war, it is the US that vetoes those decisions, and they say, no, we should not create ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Let's just begin on the US interests. These are some of the reasons as to why these countries are still fighting. You find like Israel has been having a strong diplomatic engagement with USA for a very long time, and it is believed that this relationship has not begun today. it has been there. So let's not think that whatever is happening in broad daylight wasn't there, wasn't happening. So that's one of the reasons. So USA is continuing and shall continue to finance Israel. Then adding on top of that, there is sort of like US thinking that when the Gaza region, which it believes that it is involved of most of the terrorists, it brings us into a cause that when the region is safe, USA is also safe, because these so-called implications that USA thinks that these people are terrorists, these are its attackers at the end of the day. So USA is going to continue financing the war. So I don't see this war ending today, but I think let's just hope that countries can just align and come up as allies, and we try to find solutions for this cause. Thank you.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
As we come to the end of today's debate on the implications of USA halting arms supply to Israel over the conflict with Hamas in Gaza, it is crucial for us to consider the broader impact of such a decision. The decision to halt arms supply to Israel sends a strong message about the importance of accountability and upholding human rights in conflict situations. It underscores the need for all parties involved to prioritize peaceful resolution and safeguard the lives of civilians caught in the crossfire. While the implications of this decision may have immediate consequences on the ongoing conflict, it also opens the door for constructive dialogue and a renewed focus on diplomatic efforts to reach a lasting resolution. As we continue to contemplate on the complexities of this situation, let us remember that ultimately, the goal is a future where all people in the region can live in peace and security. You have been an amazing and lovely audience. Thank you for being part of the People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid. Kindly continue to follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and our YouTube channel. My name is Nkwanga Michael. I have been sitting in for the speaker and founding chair of the Great Pan-African Pyramid. Lastly, as we conclude, is to remind you about the 7th Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards and 10th Anniversary and Bonfire Dinner. The theme for this year's PAP Global Awards is Pan-Africanism plus environmentalism equals humanism. Book your card now. Those are our contacts for those that would love their cards delivered. Maybe for our online audience, call on 0757 342317 and on MTN 0782 342317. Come, let's rekindle our roots, Africa. Don't agonize, organize. I thank you.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.